when my girls, you know, before Tracy and I met, my girls have never seen any other blind moms, you know, and other kids living with blind parents, right? And the things that they do for me, like they got to see when they met Tracy and her children, like, oh my gosh, mom patting on the table, mom table's over here, I'm over here, right? Like all these little techniques, like these little tips that we do at home. But they got to see it, you know.
Or even like when I got here today, I hugged the girls and I felt their hair and I touched their clothes. They weren't like, what are you doing,
what are you doing?
Weirdo? They just smiled and I could feel them smiling, you know. So I love that.
You know, and yesterday when I got to Tracy's house, her little 4-year-old Desmond they come out to the front to meet me, and he takes my hand and leads me up, to, you know, to show me, you know, their front door, and just, you know, these things that most other children, you know, who have sight impairments just don't, you know, don't do.
They don't get to practice those skills. That's the thing. Our kids get to practice being thoughtful, you know, people. That's the cool thing.
I have a cool story, funny story. I remember a cute story from over the past years. So one day I was on the phone with Tracy, and Desmond was a baby, and he was in a high chair. And I remember you couldn't find something. Like you're like, where is your sippy cup or something? Like
I think it was like a lid, wasn't it?
Something. I forget what it was. And you're like, where is it, Desmond? And he could understand it. He was maybe, I don't know, maybe a year and a half. I don't know. He was little.
Yeah.
And he was like, he took your hand.
Oh yeah.
And he put your hand on it. Like, I'm like, oh my goodness, isn't that amazing? At that age, they can already pick up on, all those kind of things. And I remember my Georgiana, when she was, after I lost my sight, I remember she had been realizing that mommy sees with her hands.
Yeah.
And instead of like, and it was she didn't understand that, like, my mom was here this one day, and Georgie, we were in a craft store, and it was Christmas time. Yeah. And there were these ornaments, and she wanted my mom to see this ornament she picked out. And since she's so used to me showing things to me in my hands and mommy touching it and feeling it, those are my hands or my eyes. Right. She put this ornament in my mom's hand and said, Mama. Well, she was like, oh, that's right. She didn't have the ornament and she wanted one. And she goes, she took my mom's hand. Let me take your hand. She took my mom's hand and she put it in her hand, and she goes, Mama, look, I don't have one. Isn't that cute? She already realized at 2 years old that mommy sees with her hands, you know, Mama, I don't have one.
Well, the best stories are when you hear, like my kids have done this before, you tell them, go and find the red truck. And I think it's over on the couch somewhere. That's where I thought you left it. Many of times people have told me that my kids, when they were little, would turn their head the opposite way, put their hands out and start feeling the couch. I can't find it. And then my mom's always one, what are you doing? Look, it's right there in front of you. And then they'll turn their head and look, but first they're trying to look like mommy looks, you know?
It's
so funny.
It's so cute. Another thing as blind moms, that we were talking yesterday in our interview about, is how our kids, we find things that they can't find, and they have eyes. And we're like, just look harder. No. And they're like, can you find where's our glasses? You're the sighted one. You're asking, where's your glass? Mom, blind mom, where's my glasses? I'm like, how do you not know? I'm like, you have eyes.
And they're yours.
Yesterday morning, Georgiana was looking for a pair of sandals, and she couldn't find them. And I said, would you like your blind mommy to find them for you? She's like, yes. And I'm like, she's like, oh, Mom, but you won't find them there. I promise you, they're not there. I've looked in that little, this shoe cubby. And I'm like, let me just try. What do you know? I'm like, what is this? And they're like, blind mom wins again. But our kids have learned, right, that they, and that's another thing they were asking us about yesterday in interviews. Has your children ever tried to get away with anything?
Oh yes, that was funny, wasn't it?
And we're both like, yes. Yes, our kids have tried to get away with lots of things because we can't see. But we figure things out.
That's right.
Because we're really smart.
I think that's the thing that might be a misconception, is that, because you're blind, everything in life is different. Our kids are just like everybody else's kids. Yeah. If they can get away with something, they're going to try.
They're kids.
They're kids.
Yeah.
And their lives are no different than any other kid. They're still going to experience every part of being a kid and growing up and developing, and that's really a beautiful thing, right?